So before I even begin talking about how to train to grow the chest, we've got to get started with the basics. I'm not going to dive in deep, I'm just going to tell you need to get your diet on point. I've got this in another video on how to eat to build muscle, but yeah, if you're not eating enough, you're not eating the right foods, you're not going to grow your muscle. And the things you've got to think about as well is going into the session, how can I make sure this is going to be a good session? So things like making sure you've got your high glycemic index carbs before your session. So people use squares bars, but in Dubai they haven't got squares bars. So like rice cakes, which I've got here, which tastes absolutely awful. But and yeah, like your Cocoa Pops after or before. So yeah, getting your high glycemic index carbs in first. So you've got that energy for the session, and obviously caffeine does really help. So I'm not recommending you start going crazy with your pre-workout, but just to make sure that it's going to be a big session, it's going to be a good session, and you are ready for it. Yes, people, so I'm going to be showing you how to build everyone's favourite muscle group, the chest, the absolute centrepiece of the physique. So first things first, be clear on your goal. If your goal is to build muscle, train that way. See, so many people use up all their energy on their bench press, literally not even contracting the chest, not even engaging the chest, just using everything up. The rest of the session, they're absolutely fucked. You train like you're trying to build your chest. Every single muscle, you want to be squeezing the chest, really feeling it. So make that your main priority. There's not great research behind pre-exhaustion. There's not great studies behind it, but for me, it just really activates my chest to begin the session. So I like to start with something. It can be anything, any like isolation movement, you really get that good contraction with, that good squeeze, just to get a bit of a pump in the chest. Rest of your session, you're going to be able to really feel it and really focus on engaging the chest, really contracting the chest. And for me, that's what's going to help you grow your chest most. That is going to be your number one tip, your mind-muscle connection. I know you hear loads and loads of people say it, but it's so true. If you're training a muscle group and you can't even feel it, how can you expect to grow it? So if you are looking to grow these bad boys, I'm going to go over the 3 ways you train in order to build muscle. So mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage. I'll go through each one, explain it for you, and you can just throw these in your sessions, mix them up, just keep your sessions fun, enjoy them whatever you prefer, whatever way you enjoy training, but just try and get all 3 of these methods in. So in order for us to know how we're going to build muscle, we need to know how the body does build muscle, and it's based on 3 mechanisms: mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage. And it's a hard one because recent studies have shown that we still don't really know how the body builds muscle, but it's just leaning towards these 3 things. And the primary driving factor, which is all in towards, is mechanical tension, but it goes to show that there are different methods to building muscle, and I think that's why you get these different bodybuilders in incredible shape arguing no, this is the right way, no, this is the right way. So yeah, based on current research, the 3 mechanisms of muscle hypertrophy are those 3, but mechanical tension, on all recent studies, is being shown to be the primary driver of muscle hypertrophy. So this is one which all the research is going between, and everyone's obsessed with it at the moment. If you go on TikTok, everyone's going back to all these bodybuilders who was preaching this years ago. But this is basically just the forced production of muscle tissue to overcome resistance. So when you're progressing with your load you're lifting or your reps performed, which is going to increase mechanical tension. There still are some really good studies which do go towards the other 2, so metabolic stress and muscle damage. So with metabolic stress, this is caused by accumulation of metabolic byproducts during intense exercise. So when you're getting them high rep ranges and just really training to absolute failure. But this has also been shown to increase testosterone, human growth hormone, and can target muscle fibers which wouldn't be hit when using a heavier load. And then lastly, we've got muscle damage, and this is what was always preached in the fitness industry beforehand. This was the most common one. So obviously when you're damaging the muscle, it repairs, but it's shown recently that it can actually be detrimental to muscle growth, because the repair process for muscle damage and muscle growth both utilize the same cellular resources. But you've got people like Dorian Yates who absolutely fucking preach it. He absolutely loves the negatives, and I fucking love training with negatives, 5-second negatives, 5-second pauses. Yates, I talk like he's my fucking mate. Dorian Yates talks about how the positive is the weakest part of the movement. But as you can see, based on all studies, the common trait is that we are putting stress on the muscle. You need to put stress on that muscle. Are you really connecting with the muscle you're supposed to be connecting with? Are you really pushing that muscle to failure? Or are you just using your whole body to get the weight up? And that is why I constantly preach my muscle connection. If you are not connecting with that muscle, how do you expect to grow that muscle? What is your number 1 tip to building muscle?
Well, I think it's all about progressive overload. Progressive overload in your training, in your mindset, in your food, in your supplements. So always try to beat yourself, always try to improve, always try to be better every day. If you have this mindset of progressive overload, for sure you're gonna build muscle, man. But don't stay in the same place, man. Einstein used to say, if you keep doing the same thing all the time, you want to reach the same place. That's it, man. All this progressive overload.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. The next thing which I feel really helped with my chest development are partial reps, and you may have heard of them, you may not have, and it's just basically when you're absolutely fucked and you can't get that full range of motion, you do your partials, so you just get the reps in still, but it may be just not as good range of motion really, just like half a rep, quarter of a rep, just basically giving everything to get the reps up. So in this video, this is not me doing it on a chest exercise, but you can see I'm absolutely fucked, so the reps don't look great, but you can see I'm using a lot of energy expenditure. I'm really feeling it in the muscle, because if you think you're training till failure and you foul because you can't get a full range of motion, that's not true failure, is it? But if you're literally giving everything, so in this movement you can see I'm trying to get the weight up, I'm moving about an inch, but imagine the stress that's still going to cause on the muscles. I'm giving everything until it is true failure, not failure because I can't complete a range of motion. Like imagine you just fouling because you can't do this, or fouling because you literally cannot even move an inch. Like that is true failure. So this really pushes the limits and pushes you past failures.
3 and I go beast like 23, 10 toes down, glued to the concrete, and I do me, keep to myself to find my peace. Been ballin' a little bit, woke up feeling rich. Still remember days I had to grind to get a.
And do not sleep on bodyweight exercises like your push-ups and your dips. They are absolute fucking beauts. I love to end my session with one or two. You can even start your session with one of them. It's a good way to get that pump in the chest. But for me, I like to do these at the end of the session at quite a high rep range, and just know that if I'm getting a lot of them, I'm not finding it hard. I'm like, well, I definitely didn't train my chest hard enough today. So if I have a sick chest session and I'm struggling to do one push-up, I'm like, yeah, that's how I like to end my session. And lastly, I didn't want to bring this in because I didn't want to dishearten anyone or make anyone feel like they can't achieve anything, but genetics play a massive role in your muscle groups. Like you see some people just have like an unreal chest, so yeah, like don't be disheartened by it and think you can't grow a great chest, because you can, but don't look at someone else's chest and think, oh, I need to start doing this movement to make my chest look like that. Like all of our physiques look different, like we're all different people, our physiology is different, so you're gonna look different. Like for me, my chest is probably my strongest muscle group. I'll add some photos here of even when I was younger. I've always had a very big chest. But yeah, like even if your chest isn't your strong point, don't think, oh, for God's sake, it's going to ruin my physique. You're still going to be able to build an incredible chest, but it's just not going to look like another person's chest. The same way you've probably got some absolutely incredible muscle groups. Like you've all got your strong points. Everyone's got a strong point. So yeah, don't be disheartened by it and still give your absolute everything in every session. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it beneficial, knowledgeable. But yeah, if you've got any questions or any videos you'd like to see, just leave a little comment. New video every Sunday and Wednesday 6:30. Thank you for watching.